very early on of my career, at the start of my schizophrenia research, most of the research I did in schizophrenia and in the field of antipsychotic treatment. So early on I heard about the transmethylation hypothesis and the role of the supposed endohallucinogens in the psychotic condition. And of course, like most of my colleagues, I had the same concept that hallucinogens, they induce psychosis. So, yeah, since then I know that it's a misconception. And my colleagues, they really do not understand well the nature of hallucinogens and how ignorant we are about this kind of pharmaceutical agents shows that we don't have a good name. We cannot name it. Hallucinogens, not the right name. Indigenous people, they have been using it for 100 years, but we can agree on it that it's not really the hallucinogenic effect what they have been using for. Visions and hallucinations, better not to mix up, as we don't mix up dreams with hallucinations. And the other issue that initially I suppose, like my best mentors of psychopharmacology, that hallucinogens are some sort of narcotic agents. Again, many Western scientists, especially in East Europe, I will explain you why, in East Europe, they mix up mind-expanding agents with central nervous system depressants. And they suppose that they are strongly addictive and so on and so on. The reason why, because no one, even including myself, ever heard a professional lecture on hallucinogens. Not speaking about a symposium, which would mean a series of lectures. Essentially, it was me who 2 years ago organized the first hallucinogen symposium in Hungary. So most source of information comes from media. And in East Europe, during the 70s and late 60s, in the communist era, they liked to use hallucinogens to discredit the West. And anyhow, it made an impact on professional thinking. So I think that in East Europe, when I will speak to you about how my profession looks at hallucinogens, especially it reflects my colleagues in the eastern part of Europe. Another problem what I shared at the beginning, that Western science, Western neuropharmacology cannot make distinction between sacramental agents and recreational drugs. Sometimes I call them the ghetto drugs. So they mix them up and totally misunderstand that sacramental use means a very strict, very strictly organized use of a drug or a compound. Why? Because there is a sacred place, sacred time, and a very strict choreography. And we know that it doesn't apply to recreational use, and it doesn't even apply to ordinary use of prescribed drugs. We just follow them and do our task. So, sometimes I try to explain to my patients, when you take your prescription medication, sit down, think about it, where do you take it? Just a couple of seconds. A very short ritual helps. It can work better. And so I was sharing most of these views. But about 10 years ago, there was a shift in my interest and in my worldview. I met with a North American medicine man. We had very long discussions about the worldview of Native Americans. And after that, I made a very conscious decision that fasten your seatbelts, that I want to be superstitious. What I mean, what we Westerners think that is superstitious in the tribal worldview. The reason that I got very tired of this washed down, very simplified worldview of Western science. And I said, I would prefer to believe in that very rich life, world, what the worldview of tribal people can give us. So what made me really very disappointed in the Western worldview